Hey everybody, how's it going? Christian from Treasure Town here, and today we've got Chris Tisdale from CoinTable for another one of his valuable information sessions. Basically, I get him on so that we can talk about some pretty high-level numismatic stuff that's kind of out of my reach, and he's here to give his opinion. Today we're going to be discussing questionable color or artificially toned coins, kind of giving an overview of what that is, what some of the downfalls and traps might be surrounding them, what companies are good at discovering it. Do questionable color coins end up in straight graded holders or the reverse? Lots of other questions along those lines, but thanks so much for being here, Chris.
Thanks for having me. Super excited.
Yeah, so I guess the basic one is, because we want to hit all levels of collectors here, is what is a questionable color coin or an artificially toned coin?
First of all, I think let's if it's okay, if take it even one step further and just what is a toned coin, or discuss kind of what toning is, how it happens, and why. I can do a really brief kind of summary on that. For anyone who doesn't know, a lot of you guys probably do know, but for anyone that doesn't, toning on a coin is basically, well, let's say we're talking about silver coins. It is a thin film. In fact, it's called, like, scientifically, it's called thin film interference, where it changes the way the light bounces off the coin. The different wavelengths are what your eyes perceive as color. And so what happens is the silver on the surface of a silver coin reacts with sulfur, which is found everywhere, and in old paper, old bags, everywhere in the environment. It reacts and creates silver sulfide, and it creates that microscopic thin layer, which your eyes perceive it as color. And so that's how and why a coin tones. This whole thing about naturally toned versus artificially, that's a deep, deep rabbit hole. I don't even know. I mean, the last time I looked into this, it was probably 2017, and I believe the ANA was still trying to come up with an actual description, or how do you define artificial toning? I mean, they couldn't even create the definition for it. And so it's a major, hotly debated subject. And my perspective's changed as I've progressed through my journey and experienced what I've experienced and seen what I've seen and learned what I've learned. So with all that said, yeah, let's jump right into it.
So the artificial toning, that's, from what I understand, as somebody who doesn't know a lot about it, is when people use, like, I don't know the scientific term for it, but reactants, things that will prompt like a really quick toning. Maybe that's like a lot of heat. Maybe that's like actually like blasting, I think, sulfur onto the coin. Kind of, is there a quick process, or how long does something have to tone over? Is it like a coin that's left kind of in a room and somebody forgets about it for 2 years? Is that an artificially toned coin, or like what's the timeline?
That's a good question. I'll give you two scenarios. Let's say we all know that Dansko albums, or the best ones that I know of are the old Waite Raymond, I believe.
Yeah.
Right?
We've got those in the coin shop. Sometimes like the classic commemorative halves would come in those and tone beautifully. But yeah, definitely the Waite. It's like the thick brown cardboard. Yeah.
So those are old school. So here's the question. Let's say a collector puts his coins in there years ago, and they toned rainbow, beautiful colors. There was no intent on the collector's part to do that. It was just a natural byproduct of putting the coins in there. Are those artificial or natural? Well, the industry, in my perspective, has deemed that as being natural. Well, let's say I come along and I find those Waite Raymond holders and buy them just so that I can specifically put a coin in there, set it aside for whatever, 1 year or 10 or whatever it takes to make rainbows on the coin. Is that still natural, or does that cross the line, and are we into artificial now? So, and that's you don't need to answer that. That's just the question. Honestly, nobody, to my knowledge, I mean, you could ask 10 different dealers, like expert dealers, and get 10 different answers. So to get back to your actual question, yes, there are ways using chemicals, heat, different methods, and different ways as far as science goes to put toning on a coin like that, seconds.
Yeah, and I think what the terms that we use often then will show up on when, you know, a lot of the market, and especially for high end stuff, is going to go through graded coins. And when you have a label, you know, that if they think it's questionable color for the viewers, they're not going to straight grade it, put it in a, say, MS64 holder. Instead, I'll say questionable color. And so is it often that there are coins that are naturally toned in a really nice way that end up in questionable color holders, or the opposite version where a coin that's maybe not clearly been doctored, but it's been doctored quickly, and those end up in straight grades?
Yeah, unfortunately, both. And unfortunately, it's not limited to, I mean, I don't feel like one grading company is worse than the other. But again, unfortunately, I feel like that's only progressed in the wrong direction. I'll just use my own experience. Well, first of all, I'm basing that on what I see. Like, I can go to eBay right now and I could find unlimited. We're talking, I mean, literally unlimited amount of coins that I know without question have been artificially toned, and they're in straight grade holders. And you're not going to find as many on eBay, because usually if the dealer knows, what I was going to say is you could also find the opposite. Coins that say artificially toned or questionable color, and you can look at them and see as plain as day that they're natural. You won't find as many of those, because if I'm a dealer and I send in a naturally toned coin and it comes back in a questionable color holder or artificially toned, I crack it and send it back. And I can't even begin to tell you the number of times I've done that. You know, there's a lot of detail. There's a lot of factors in how do you know. But after you look at coins, especially like for me, it was Kennedy's. It was end roll toned, uncirculated Kennedy's. You see a lot of those, and after a while, it's just boom, like that's an end roll toner. And there's been times where I've sent the most base. I'm talking, yeah, they were beautiful and they had nice rainbows, but they were like, this is elementary, first grade. Like, you know, if you've ever looked at rolls of toned, or just rolls of Kennedy's that are uncirculated, you know that that's end roll toning. I've sent in 20, 30 coins like that to the graders and had them all grade questionable or artificial. And so it happens all the time. I crack those out and send them back or whatever. So you don't see as many of those on the market, but what you do see on the market a lot of, unfortunately, are coins that are absolutely outright artificially toned in holders on the market, unfortunately.
Yeah, and then I guess the question that brings up is that, so I probably should have established this earlier, but the tone coins often bring major premiums even over, you know, a coin with the same grade that's just blast white or not toned. Is that like a big enough problem for tone collectors where they should kind of shift away from collecting tone coins from a value perspective? Because like there is so much confusion, it seems like, with the authentication or third party grading, you know, that they don't advertise themselves in the fine details, I don't think, as being necessarily authenticators. But you know, kind of is that a big hurdle where you should really only buy tone coins because, like, as a risk and not as an investment or a spec?
I don't think so. I've thought about that so many times just myself because of my own personal, I love toned coins. There, when you find a Morgan dollar that has that money, I call it the money green, you know, that neon green, the money color, there's not very many things like it in numismatics. And so when you find something like that, you can rest assured it's not going to be going down in value. It's just not, period. I've seen a lot of entry-level collectors get into the hobby. They're excited about toned coins, and they buy what ends up being some of these, you know, straight graded Kennedy. Again, I'm going to use Kennedy's, but it's not just Kennedy's. It's every single denomination. It's world coins, foreign coin. It's everything. I've seen a lot of entry-level collectors who are just getting started, and they buy stuff that then they later learn, because as their eye develops and their knowledge builds, oh yeah, that's artificially toned clearly. But that stuff's not the stuff that's fetching huge premiums. The stuff that's fetching huge premiums is the stuff that is so beautiful and so naturally toned that it's not, you know, you could crack it out of the holder 10 times and it would never come back questionable. And so what finally helped me get over the fear, per se, of somebody being able to mimic that and then the market getting saturated, is I just learned that the bottom line is, let's use crescent toned Morgan dollars, for example. Like they're very, they're very easy to identify what and why that happened. If there's somebody out there who can make that and it looks the same as it does straight out of the canvas bag, then in my opinion, there's no difference. Honestly, and there's gonna be a lot of people who disagree with that. I'm just one man. This is my opinion. And I'm not saying that it's okay when I say that. I'm just saying that if I look at it from a non-biased point of view, whether it's real or not becomes secondary to the fact that once it's in a holder with a straight grade, if it's beautiful and it looks perfect, there's going to be enough buyers that it really won't matter. Now, I don't know that there's anyone that can do that good of a job. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a thing that anyone has to worry about. There's more than enough people to absorb whatever nice coins or toned coins hit the market. I've watched it for years now. They have not come down. They've only gone up. Crazy numbers, absolutely mind-boggling numbers. So,
yeah, and I mean, I know you always talk about how things like it all get brought up if there's suddenly tens of thousands probably going to get hurt, but if there's just a steady flow of coins that don't look obviously fake toned and are appealing in the same way that a natural one is, and they are straight grading, it's probably not going to crash the market because it even just makes the market more available for new people to jump into it.
Correct. And in my opinion, honestly, if there was somebody out there who could do it good enough that they could get it through every time, well, you can't just sit out there making thousands of them, because if you're sending that kind of volume to the grading company, eventually they're going to just be like, there is 0% chance this guy's finding that number of toned coins. And so they'll just straight up they'll flag you and start giving you questionable color just because you're sending in too many toned coins. I've heard of that a handful of times. So what I'm trying to say is I don't think anyone out there could make enough that it could saturate the market. I really don't. And again, I want to highlight, I don't know that this is being done right now. I'm saying that if it is being done, it's not going to hurt the market. There's just too much of a demand for beautifully toned coins.
Yeah. And I guess kind of the last question that I can kind of think of is like, I know you talk a lot about developing your eye. Is there a way for people to be able to, if they're taking a look at raw coins, just looking at them, from a potential financial point of view, they're trying to make money basically when they're buying these. Is there a good way to kind of differentiate what types of colors or like what types of transitions color wise on a coin, like when is something questionable color versus when is something natural, or does it really only develop when you've been looking at rolls and rolls of BU Kennedys in your case, and now you know what an end roll tone coin is versus a clearly doctored one?
That's a really good question, and it's going to be different again based on who you ask. Excuse me. I would say this. There was a time when I became obsessed with, so there's resources out there where you can learn the color progression, the 3 stages of toning, how it happens, what the next progression of color is, how the toning is going to act and look when it goes from the fields to the devices. There's all sorts of data, content, whatever you want to call it, out there from the so-called experts who have said, yes, this here, this particular color next to that particular color is a red flag. This color doesn't happen unless it's such and such and such and such. So if you see that, then it's obviously artificial. And I personally have been looking at tone. So I got caught up in that and I got obsessed with that. And I had to learn it. And really what I ended up learning is that I've seen coins that I know were natural because of the state they were in when I found them, that if I would have just seen it out there on eBay raw, I would have thought, oh yeah, somebody probably did something to that, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So I don't think that there is an actual scientific, like, the experts will disagree with me here, the guys who say, oh yeah, I'm a toned coin expert, but I really don't think that you can get to a point where you can look at a coin and unequivocally say for sure without any doubt that it's either yes or no, artificial or not. There are some funky toned coins out there that I know personally are natural, that just look funky. They look different. And according to the rules and the laws of the color progression and all that stuff, shouldn't even be possible to exist. And I've seen coins that I know were artificially toned by some of the better ones, better as in some of the better coin doctors, that you would look at and you would never even in a million years even, I'll put it this way. I know of coins that are on the covers of auction magazines, like the big auction firms, when they do a big auction, they'll put a handful of coins on the cover,
Yeah.
catalog. I've seen coins on there that I know personally what was done to those coins, and it doesn't matter. They're still going to be straight grit. No one would ever question it ever. And so I guess my whole point here is, if you're into toned coins, buy what you like. Buy what looks pretty. If you're willing to take, if a little bit of risk is okay for you, then I don't think you should look at it like, oh, it has to be in a straight grade holder. I'm not willing to buy it raw, because I've learned enough to know that it's right or wrong half the time anyways, as far as the questionable color, the artificially toned. So for me, I just say buy what you like. Buy what you like. If you feel like it's priced right and you like it and you have to have it, buy it. If you have doubts about it or concerns, then pass. There's always going to be another one. I think you're going to be okay if you just buy what you like.
Great. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that I've definitely kind of understood a little bit more. It's definitely sounds like it's way less black and white than anybody can really make. And the guidelines really are not there in a way that can be that much of an authority. It's like a really cool aspect of coin collecting. Obviously something that makes coins, that's probably like one of the number one things for making them unique. But yeah. Anything else in closing that you have to say?
Yeah, a couple things. Number one, you said, it sounds like it's not very black and white. It might be the least black and white subject in all of numismatics. I can't think of anything else that comes to mind that's more, as far as just not black and white. I mean, it's all over the place. The second thing that I want to touch on are the reasons why people artificially tone coins. I feel like it's important that collectors know there's two reasons. Okay. Let me rephrase that. There's two types of coin doctors out there who are artificially toning coins. Number one, there's the guy who knows that if he has a 1964 Kennedy that's uncirculated and it's blast white, he can sell it for $10 or 12 or 15, whatever it is. I'm talking about raw. He knows that if he puts some rainbow color on that coin and throws it on eBay as an auction, he might sell it for, either way, it'll be multiples of that. Whether it's 2x or 200x is going to be depending on the coin and who wants it and how bad they want it. There's that kind of coin doctor who's toning coins just to make money because he's putting color on coins. And then there's the more nefarious type where, these are the guys who are actually working on coins, and they are, let's say, for example, taking you mentioned an old commemorative, so I use that as an example. Let's say they take an old commemorative, it's in an MS-65 holder, they take it out, they do whatever it is that they do to it, and then they use toning to cover up, to do two things. Number one, cover up their work that they did on the coin, and the second reason is to add that level of, oh, wow, it's so beautiful and it's original and this, that, or whatever. Now, in my personal view, there are very few, I'm talking about the top 1% of the top 1% of coin doctors out there who have the talent and ability to do that. But that's the other reason. And that's the one where, those guys are professionals, and it's like they're taking a coin that might cost $100 or $200, and they are, number one, working on it, number two, covering up their work, and then putting beautiful, beautiful toning on it, getting it into a holder again, where now let's call it a 68 star, 68 plus, whatever it is. Absolutely, just one of those coins that'll just, it's one of those coins I'm talking about where you'll see it on the cover of the catalog for the auction firm, and it'll sell for six figures. So I just wanted to point out that's the two reasons why people are owning coins, and it's something you want to be aware of, because it's going to make a difference in your purchasing and your decision making, or at least it should, if you get serious about buying and selling own coins.
Sounds good. Well, I guess we'll be hearing from you more soon. Thanks for sharing your perspective as always, and yeah, we'll look forward to doing that.
Thank you, Christian. I certainly appreciate it. I love being here. I want to leave everybody with a question. Okay, you guys, please tell us in the comments, because we want to know what your thoughts are. It's always been a hot topic. So you got the first guy who buys his Waite Raymond holders and puts his coins in there because that's what you did back then. And then voila, 10 years later, they're beautiful rainbows, you know, whatever it is. And he got those coins. We would probably, most of us say those are natural. But let's say that somebody like me or anyone else buys the Waite Raymond coin album just specifically with the intent to put coins in there so that they will tone with beautiful rainbows on them. So they buy the holder, they put the coins in there. 10 years later, they got the beautiful rainbows. Is that naturally toned or is it artificially toned? Tell us in the comments what you guys think.
Awesome. Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and get in touch with me on my website, treasuretownYT.com, Facebook, Treasuretown, Instagram @TreasuretownYT, or Twitter @Treasuretown_YT, and I'll look forward to seeing you on some of my future vids.